Alright guys, so we're moving on from the world's, first civilizations, from us learning about, where humans came from, first tools, all that good stuff. We're moving on from that to the more modern of the ancient civilizations. So for the next couple of weeks we're going to be talking about ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And I'm hoping they'll be more interesting to you than the ancient civilizations that we were talking about. Okay, so let's start with ancient Greece. And let me sort of give you a rundown of where we are in the world. So we're in that area around the Aegean Sea. And if I can show you this map right here. So kind of to give you your bearings about where we were talking about, where we're talking about now. This area right down here is Mesopotamia. So it's off the map a little bit. This area is Egypt right here. Our Chinese civilization is way over here, and the Indus River is about right here. So the area that we're going to be talking about for at least the next week is the area around the Aegean Sea and in the Mediterranean Sea. So this area right here where it's labeled Greece, we're going to be talking about all of this area. Okay? So originally that area is occupied by ancient people who were known as the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. And the biggest influencer of early Greece was this island right down here. It was inhabited. This was where a lot of ideas and customs, they spread to Greece through this area because so like Mesopotamia and Egypt, they hit Crete first, the island of Crete first, before they hit Greece. So Crete was sort of that barrier of civilization, of other civilizations to Greece. Okay? So they had to stop on Crete first before they could get to Greece, and that sort of helped ideas and customs of those other civilizations kind of spread into there. Alright, so we're going to talk about the Minoans and the Mycenaeans a little bit more in detail. So the Minoans, named after their first king, Minos. And if you've ever heard of King Minos, it's most likely that you've heard of him in Greek mythology. So he was the first king of Crete, but in mythology, he was also the son of Zeus and Europa. And the thing about King Minos is he was sort of harsh. Every 9 years, according to mythology, he made King Aegeus, or King Aegeus, whichever you want to say it. He made him, King Aegeus was the king on the main island on the mainland of Greece, and he made King Aegeus pick 7 boys and 7 girls to be sent into King Minos' labyrinth. Okay, so the labyrinth is basically a fancy word for a maze. It was at his castle, and at the center of that labyrinth was his creature that was called a minotaur. And a minotaur is a creature that has the body of a man, but has the head of a bull. So he has horns and everything. And, this is all legend, it's all myth, but people wondered if, it really happened. So, about in the 1890s, a British archaeologist named Sir Arthur Evans led an expedition to dig for ruins on the island of Crete to see if, they could come up with anything that would make the legend of King Minos fact. And what they uncovered was the ruins of a huge palace at the island's capital city, which is Knossos. And this is where the myth named it was King Minos' home. It was the home of his labyrinth and his minotaur. And Of course, Sir Arthur Evans never actually found any sign of the beast or the labyrinth, but he did find sign that King Minos was a real person. So, take that the way you will. You can believe the myth and the legend. You can't. It's fine either way. So the Minoans got their name from King Minos. And the Minoans reached their height of civilization from 1600 to 1500 BC. So they were only really powerful for about 1,000 years. And trading was what brought them their success. So they acquired technology like writing and architecture, but we don't really know a lot about the city because of the writing, because we don't know how to translate it. So we call the system of writing that they had Linear A, and there's no way for us to translate it, so we don't know what they were talking about. But that's the hardship of studying ancient civilizations. So like I said earlier, the island of Crete's capital city was Knossos, and it was home to a huge palace which housed rulers and nobles and King Minos himself. And the palace was absolutely, it was ginormous. So there was a ton of rooms in the palace. It had basic plumbing in it, and it had a ton of artwork on the wall. And we call these artworks frescoes, and they're watercolor paintings that are done on wet plaster. And because we don't know a lot about the society from the writing, these frescoes are what tell us, who these people were, what was important to them, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to show you a couple of them. Alright, so the artwork has helped us learn about the Minoan way of life. So we know that the Minoans were tied to the sea. They sailed, they traded, they fished, they went to the beach just like we do, they played in the surf. And that was their main way of trading, was overseas, because they were an island. So this fresco here, this man has obviously been fishing and has a pretty good catch. This is sort of an homage to the sea life. These look like dolphins and fish playing in the surf. These are actually pictures of the palace at Knossos, so you can go in, you can tour it. The teacher that I taught with last year, she took a group of kids to Greece and Crete the summer before last, I believe, and this one right here is her picture that she took of a fresco in the palace at Knossos. And then this fresco down here, it looks like, if you can sort of figure out what it looks like this man is sort of leaping over a bull. And so that bull is sort of, it reminds us that King Minos and his Minotaur were important in Greek mythology and Crete life. And so we know from a lot of frescoes that are like this that they played dangerous games that involved leaping over these charging bulls during festivals. And if you could leap over the bull without getting gored by his horns or without breaking your neck, then you were considered super awesome. So this was like the first Olympic Games. We know the Olympics originated in Greece. These were sort of the first games that were played. So that's all the frescoes I have for you. But so in 1400 BC, the civilization at Crete sort of vanished, and we don't really know what happened. It fell apart rather suddenly, and we think that maybe one cause was a natural disaster. So there are islands all around Crete, and one of them is a volcanic island, and they're thinking that the volcano erupted around 1400 and damaged the weather patterns around Crete, and it weakened the society by damaging their crops and damaging their ports. And so it could have been the eruption, it could have been the earthquake or tsunami that was a result of the eruption, but we know that to some extent it was the invasion of the Mycenaeans. So moving on to the Mycenaeans, they were pretty warlike. So they liked to fight. They were always battling each other. And so it was only natural that they start to war with Crete. Okay, so the Mycenaeans are considered the first Greeks because they spoke a form of the Greek language, and they traded with the Minoans. They sort of stole a little bit of their writing system like the Minoans had, but unlike the Minoans, we have been able to translate their writing. So we know that they were great traders, as in they traded things, and after they conquered Crete, their trade increased even more. So the Mycenaean society, it was, like I said, it was frequent warfare. Their warrior king ruled and defended their city-states, and these city-states often warred with each other. And one of these wars is the Trojan War, and we'll get more into that in just a second.